What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch in the Roo, presented as always by our friends at Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis. A reminder, the back-to-school block party at the Frandor location is coming up just a couple weeks away now. It's a little more than 2 weeks, but not far. September 7th at the Frandor Pure Options location. 2 Chainz will be there, some great highlights, live music from other local artists, cannabis vendors, great exclusive promos that you can take advantage if you are at the event, food trucks, games and activities, and a big screen viewing of the MSU Maryland football game that you can sit there and watch with fellow fans. So MSU football will be on the road. You can watch the game while taking part in the back-to-school block party, the Frandor location of Pure Options, and that is on September 7th from 1 to 7 p.m. Jason, how you doing, brother?
He's got a stupid-looking face.
Really good penis.
What's up, buddy? How was Madrid? You're back already, huh?
It was amazing. Yeah, it's great.
All of the updates. I appreciate those.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I actually haven't written much on.
No?
On the yeah.
It wasn't exciting?
It was. No,
I saw a blowout score. That's pretty much all I saw.
I am going to write one column on the 3 games, but Michigan State basketball is playing in Spain after their 3rd game, which is Tuesday at like 1 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm at one column off 3 games, not overreacting to, because like the second team they played in Valencia, not as good as the first team. All right, like,
they're not all-stars?
Yeah,
kind of.
They weren't great. I mean,
No.
there were some things you can pull from it. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying that's not the situation, but not as exciting.
How was your Cohen Carr dunk? That was fun too.
Well, that's nothing new, right?
Right, but it was fun to see, I guess. I mean, if you can't watch it on TV or anything.
We've got some listener hot takes that take the opposite take than you.
Okay.
Basically, the Cohen Carr dunk was not fun. And so we'll get into those in a little bit.
That.
Yeah. How was your weekend in the wilderness in Ohio?
Yeah, Rockbridge. It was fun. I thought I was going to hate it, and we had to dress fancy for dinner. Like, I was really proud. I had to pick T up from work, so I was like the one to pack the vehicle. Like, we packed our bags and everything, but then she went to work, and I was going to pick her up, and then we go, right? So you have to dress nice at this thing. There's like a cabin kind of fancy-ish kind of thing. So I cleaned my nice clothes. I got a sports coat and all that shit. I clean it, hang it up on the hangers. Drive to pick up the wife, right? I'm like, man, I'm proud of myself. I think I packed everything. You know what I mean? You get that feeling like, I think I nailed it. I'm like, okay.
And you've never nailed it when you think you've nailed it.
Well, no, I know, but I'm cautious when I do that because I'm like, I know. Anyway, so we get there. I get there, and then it's like the morning of, we're about to go to dinner that night, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy shit. I forgot the clothes at the house.
Wait.
The way. The nice clothes. You have to wear a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
Like pants, dress pants. I brought my shoes, thankfully.
You left them in Ovid.
I left them in Ovid. So I'm like, well, I guess I don't have to go to dinner. It's unfortunate. I mean, because rich people eat weird. Like, I don't like eating in like silence. Like they put us in this like room, and and then
you don't have to eat in silence just because you're around rich people.
Well, no, we talk, but I'm saying I prefer music or a TV on. Like, I'm white trash. Like, we were raised in front of TV. We eat in front of TVs. The Nick family. So I'm not like a fan, but for the event, I'll do it anyway. So I'm going, and T's like, yeah, right, you're going. So we're like, I guess where's a Walmart? Right? I'm like, I need something fancy. I think they have something fancy there, right? Looks all right.
Relatively.
So we go there, and by the way, the drive, Ohio, I just don't understand. like the speed limits on the highway there. Like it's 50, like you got to guess what the speed limit is. It goes from like 55, 60, 65 back to 50, 55, 70. And it's like, what are we doing? Anyway, so it's a long, winding road to this thing, like a one lane in some parts. It's like really kind of nerve wracking. So we have to drive all, it's raining. So we're driving, doing all this stuff. We get to Walmart and I just grabbed 2 shirts and some semi-decent pants and got away with it. But yeah.
Why did you grab a second shirt? Were you, because
it was 2 nights. Two nights
okay.
I didn't want to wear the same shirt back to back.
So how did you forget your clothes? You just left them? You just left them in the bed or left them on the hung up? Somewhere?
No, they were hung. See what I did? I made the mistake of hanging them up in the hallway on the way out the door. Like I never put anything there. So and when I put them there, I go, you know what? You've been really good today. You've remembered a lot today, Rube. I think you can hang them there and you're going to remember. And sure shit, I didn't. But thankfully that was like the one thing I didn't. I just forgot that.
Many of my favorite shirts have been lost to hotel closets where like you hung it up and then you're like, I didn't bring the hanging.
Oh, you mean when you leave?
You leave.
Yeah. See, I'm good at making sure doing a once around on a room like that. But yeah, when I usually forget to, one time we went to San Diego, I think I brought 1 T-shirt. And it's just dumb. I do dumb shit like that. And the great part of it is I feel for a 15-minute period, I'm like really proud of myself. And then find out what I forgot. It's, back to normal.
That is a story worth telling, presented by our friends, by the way, at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Awesome place for any occasion. Underrated place to watch college and pro football. They've got a great big screen there. Good TVs right at the bar. Great place for a date night. Unbelievable menu. Lighter things, heavier things. Just eclectic, great character place in downtown Lansing. Again, that is Midtown Brewing Company right in downtown Lansing, 402 South Washington Avenue. I'm still waiting for a nice shirt to be mailed to me from a Fairfield Inn in suburban Chicago from a wedding in late July. I was told it was on the way. I paid for it.
Good luck.
Still haven't seen that. Not the greatest Fairfield, and I'm a Marriott guy. I don't think they're going to keep
I love that they lied to you, though, just to get you off the phone.
I'm going to have to call because they seem
How long
like
ago was this?
This is a month. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well, not good at all.
No, sir, we're going to get that right out tomorrow morning.
It's like it's like a $300 really nice shirt from Kozacek's here in downtown Lansing. It's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Not
whoever cleaned that room took that shirt. Their husband's wearing it now.
Before we dig into these our hot takes and yours, a reminder that Groovy Donuts has something really cool going on for MSU Welcome Week and Move-In Week. An MSU Move-In Special. Free classic donut and a coffee. It says and a coffee. I don't really understand what that means. So I think you can have both. Yes. With any purchase. You must show a student ID, though. So you can't just show up and be like, I'm a student. I'm 52. I like donuts. That's the type of thing I would do.
I'm taking 2 credits at LCC.
Yeah. Or add. I misread that. Or add a coffee for $1. Free classic donut or add a coffee. I thought it was or and. I was like, I don't really understand what that means.
Couch is giving away free shit.
Yeah. Sorry. Take that back. We'll fix that in post. Free classic donut or add a coffee for $1 with any purchase. Must show student ID. That is this Thursday through this Sunday, in store only. So that's on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing. I'm guessing they would honor it too in the Williamson store if you want to head down Grand River. But share that. It's on their Twitter feed as well. Or just let this MSU student in your life know if you just dropped one off. That's a good way to for them to start off the weekend with a little something extra and to get their habit of going to Groovy Donuts. It should become a thing for an MSU student. They have a way to get to Groovy Donuts. That should become a part of their routine. If you are starting to think about your fall tailgates, Groovy Donuts is here for you. Go to groovydonuts.com. It'll make your tailgate so much better, make it memorable. People will want to be part of your tailgate by adding Groovy Donuts. All right, you ready to dig in our hot takes?
Yeah, man.
All right, you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
The Detroit Tigers are back. Are we back in now? I got to say, last night, that Little League game, I was annoyed by the amount of kids, but I get it. You got to have kids you get to build the game, but the kid announcers, Good Lord.
You didn't have to watch them, though.
I know. It just, you want to get annoyed by kids. Sorry. But I will say, like, when I went to the Lions game with Treese, like the Bears game before last season, and you could just get a feeling, right? The Lions, when we won that game, and then we beat Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, there was that feeling like the tide was turning. Now, this might be a baked take because I had some pure options when I got home last night because that's a 5-hour drive, and that sucks ass. So I was watching the Tigers game, and they could come back and they do the whole, like it was like a whole little feeling there. And it's the Yankees and Scooble. Our relievers look good. Like, what the fuck? Our young guys that we brought up are actually like contributing. And then after that, I flip over to ESPN2 and the E60 Armando Galarraga perfect game thing was on. So I went from that game, the exciting game, into the Tigers or the Galarraga, and then seeing all the fans during that game and like how great it used to be when like 40,000 people would watch the Tigers again. So I don't know if I got like so stoned I was like Tony Dombrowski level, because sometimes you got to like worry about that. You can't get too excited because they can break our hearts again. But I got to say, I just think, and a lot of the guys that in the trades that I'm seeing on Twitter, the guys are just mashing the ball where they're at. So I don't know. Is the tide turning? Should we think, a wild card spot, is it crazy anymore? You got the Cubs next, the White Sox. I don't know. Am I getting too excited?
So I think the wild card is probably out of reach. But my first,
well, then forget it,
hot take is along these lines, because it did feel there was an energy to last night that you hadn't felt in a while. And then Sports Center's leading with the Tigers, and it's like, holy crap! Like this has been a while. This is new.
I love beating the Yankees, though. I love it. That's what made it for me last night.
Absolutely, and it was a big primetime game where you feel like that team earlier in the year or that team last year would not have won that game. Here's my hot take. The Tigers are going to win 80 games, which means they're going to hit the season win total over 79.5 that seemed like a lost cause earlier this season and even maybe a week or two ago, right? Like, I thought that they would fade post-trade deadline. I did, because they're doing bullpen days like 3 out of every 5 games at this point. But there is something here, I think. Like, there is an energy of new, if that makes sense. There's a lot of, like, you get late in a season that's not going anywhere, and you can have teams sort of fall off, fade, nobody cares. But there are enough new pieces, a lot of guys trying to prove themselves or even, like, reclaim their career, in, like, Torkelson's case. Like, they've got a true ace in Tarek Skubal, who every 5 or 6 days they may start using him a little less, makes you a favorite, and he'll stop losing streaks. Montera, what the fuck's his name? I wrote it down wrong. Hold on one second. Hold on. Give me some fucking off. Now I'm pissed off at spell check. Montero.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, but I wrote it down and it fixed it differently in spell check. Don't fix my shit, man. All right? All right.
You're angry. You're going to push someone down some stairs or something?
Sorry. I just trust me on it. Don't fix name.
Where's that anger come from?
But he's been okay. Kenta Maeda's even been good in long relief. Parker Meadows coming along. Jace Young is new. And
what about Trey Sweeney? How about instead of Javi fucking Baez, we leave Trey Sweeney in there?
No matter
what he does.
That felt good too.
Yeah.
They're 61 and 64, right? Mm-hmm. They need to go 19 and 18 in their final 37 games to win 80, which seems very plausible the way they're playing. They've got series left with the Cubs, White Sox, home against the Angels, Red Sox, and then again with the White Sox coming up. Like that, I think they can do it because they do have a stretch where they play Padres. Then they have Padres, A's, Rockies, and then they have a stretch against Orioles, Kansas City Orioles again. So you don't want to need too many wins at that point. And I think Tampa's in there as well. Close with the White Sox. I think they'll be in striking distance when they come to that final series of the White Sox, and they don't look like they want to win. Like, I thought this bet was dead. I unfortunately hedged it at the All-Star break a little bit. It is very much alive.
But is there any value left? Or did you just squeeze it all?
There's a little value. This is why we bet season overs, though, because beyond the young players and other things, like it adds something to it. But there is an energy to this team right now, and I think one of the problems with trying to figure out where the Tigers are in their rebuild, and I think it was put well on the broadcast last night. A.J. Hinch said they're at the intersection of development and winning. That's an interesting way of putting it. Like, and figuring out where they are. Like, all of a sudden, you start to look at this roster, and there are like 6 or 7 guys you're interested in watching. And it didn't feel like that 2 months ago. It felt like 2 or 3. So maybe we were sort of a year ahead of the intrigue of can they compete. And now let's see how they close this out. If you win 80 games and you've got a number of young guys like Parker Meadows playing the way he has, and I mean it's just a like let me read the lineup from last night. Hold on.
Absolutely.
All right.
I mean, fucking
So
everybody
here-
masturbates.
Here's the lineup. Parker Meadows leading off. Now, he is not a great player yet, but he did have the game-winning hit. And not one of Major League Baseball's best leadoff hitters either, but an interesting player, a player you want to watch. Riley Green, batting second.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in there, right? Mm-hmm. Matt Vierling, yeah, a role player, but
Hey,
whatever.
he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's not one of the guys we're intrigued to watch. Kerry
I like
Carpenter,
Vierling.
back healthy, really good player, batting cleanup. Colt Keith, I think somebody we're all in on in the future. Colt Keith. We'll see where he actually plays in the line in the field. Spencer Torkelson, who knows? But whatever anger we had toward him is at this point you're just hoping in these final 6 weeks he sorts something out to make it worth bringing him back in spring training and giving him one more shot. Chase Young, I mean, intriguing young player. Jake Rogers, even though he had that pass ball, it should have been a pass ball last night. There is some good pitchers. It's a team worth watching. Even as we go into the beginning of football season, I think they're fun to watch. They got a chance to get to 80 wins, and last night was the most buzz and national excitement I had felt about them in a long time, and it was fun to see them rise to the occasion and sort of meet the moment. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I say Vierling's a good guy because they had him mic'd up last night when he was playing left field, and of course there was like 2 balls hit to him. It annoys as a gambler that annoys me that they put that because it can affect the game, right? Like I know that you can talk and play baseball at the same time because there's a lot of dead period in there. But when you're trying to run down a fly ball, which he did, but I just thought he was a great dude. He was real cool with it. So
Yeah.
I mean, those guys they ask a lot out of those guys for those events. I mean, Jazz Chisholm, he's like in the stands.
Yeah.
He looks like Graham Couch coaching a 6-year-old soccer team. It's like, what is he doing over there? He's like, oh yeah, I follow this kid on Instagram. I'm gonna make him a star. I'm like, what? Anyway.
That's what I did with those 6-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Made them stars.
Follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, that would get real creepy real fast. I'm not going to do that. What is your second hot take, sir?
All right, so I didn't watch many sports, and I drove both ways, so I didn't really get to look at my phone or anything. But I will say, before we left, now I do follow people that I respect, like what they say. And there's been a lot of people saying that they think Michigan State's going to win three games. Stephen Brooks. I respect Stephen Brooks. I think he was on a podcast, and I heard a clip of it of him saying that he doesn't think it's going to be a great year for them. So I'm starting to get nervous with this 4.5. Now it's going to be, 5.5, the win total. Like I was feeling confident before because I just played the video game, and I was like, man, Aiden Childs is very fun to use.
I think
so. I mean, are we? I'm saying there's a couple people that like think they're. I think the Athletic had them finishing in the bottom of the Super Big Ten, whatever.
So
we're calling
here's
it.
the thing. Nobody has any fucking clue. Okay, and neither do I, frankly.
Right.
Like I've been there.
But they're confident about it.
There are certain things I do for our preview content heading into the season. I'll do a season predictions column where I predict every single game, and I do some funny lines in there, about things that made and so that people understand that it's not exactly dead serious. Like you don't know what's going to happen throughout the course of a year. I try to make it though along the lines of what I think could happen within the season in terms of their record and outcomes. And then I've got to do like a best worst case scenario post. And then there's just different things that you do going in. And there are such a wide variety of outcomes with this team in a lot of ways. And it's not just because of this team. I think it's because of the other teams too. There's so much roster fluctuation. Like Purdue is supposed to be the worst team in the Big Ten. And yet if you watch the BTN travel training camp days where they go to each campus and interview the players, you'd think Purdue is about to win the dang league, And they're at Michigan State today as we're doing this. I'm sure if you watch tonight on BTN, you will think, dang it, take the over. Like nothing's ever negative in any of these situations. But there is a lot of variance, and there is a lot of unknown. And there are things even with the top teams, Oregon coming east as often as they do, and just a myriad of games that you would think they would win. Are they going to not play well in some noon game they come east and lose a game they shouldn't along the way? And who is that to? There are a lot of things that we don't know, and that'll affect Michigan State. And that Michigan State schedule is very like Boston College. Is that a team that Michigan State should beat? I don't know. I don't actually know that. Michigan State, I do think, will have a lot of alumni at that game. I think Michigan State will have half the crowd at Boston College. So that changes that dynamic a little bit. What is Florida Atlantic? How will they look initially? Could they be really awful? I don't think they'll be really awful. But I do think 4.5, anything 5, 4.5, 5 is a really good bet because of the worst case scenario, you're getting your money back.
I really love the bet.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Just hearing a couple different people just think that they're going to be at the bottom of the basement.
But when people are predicting, it's because what their bosses want them to do or what their job is to do. It's filling August when you don't have great access, and that's all it is. It's not. There's no knowledge.
Well, I think Stephen Brooks was focusing on the players that were brought in, and the personnel.
And Brooks, to credit Stephen Brooks does this for a living, follows Michigan State specifically, and knows the personnel as well as anybody who's covering the team. So I'm not knocking Stephen.
So that's
here.
what made me pause a little bit because I do respect Stephen Brooks.
Yeah,
which would make him happy, I'm sure, if he hears this.
I don't think it's going to be a great – because here's the thing.
I just don't see it being that bad.
There's no way with a true sophomore quarterback who's never started a game before, as talented as he may be, there's no way he's this perfect guy who maximizes who they are. They are going to lose a game, maybe 2 games, maybe 3 games.
Oh, geez.
But they're going to lose multiple games, at least a game, I should say. I could keep hitting this point over the head, or I could actually spit out what I'm going to say. God, I suck at this. Because Aiden Childs makes an error or makes multiple errors. And that's fine. He's a true sophomore quarterback who doesn't turn 19 until after the pure options block party.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and he'll be in Maryland that day, so he'll be focused elsewhere.
I was about to say, is he going to be there?
No, he won't be. But you can watch him on the big screen at Pure Options, the block party, number 7th. So there's no way. It's not like you can look at this season and go, well, I think they should beat all the teams they possibly could beat, and then if they can upset here or there, they may pull an upset somewhere, but they're also likely to lose a game or two that it is a toss-up, just based on the youth and the holes on the roster. And, we'll see if they're okay up front. We'll see if if they have a real strength, if they have somebody who's a real problem for defenses. But, a lot of the buzz has been about a sophomore quarterback who's not yet 19 and a true freshman receiver. Like, these are the guys people are excited about. Like, that's just way too young in college football to think that's going to automatically go well. And but I do think there's a chance there's enough talent defensively and up front. Like, you look at the offensive line and some of the guys that they're talking about being key guys who are redshirt sophomores, redshirt freshmen, third-year, second-year guys, and you start to look at the previous regime and where they had started to recruit well. And so maybe this would have been coming. Maybe this will be the year the offensive line, while still young in parts, you say, hey, there's a little something there. Again, seeing is believing with the offensive line after the last decade, but they're just I still think there's a wide variety of outcomes for this season, and I think if you can get 4.5 or 5 wins, you're likely not going to lose your money. That's what I would say.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
All right, I'll talk some MSU hoops here. So as we'll get into quite a bit here in our listener hot takes.
Don't coach my team.
They are the Michigan State basketball team is on a 10-day tour of Spain. It includes 3 games. They played the Madrid All-Stars already. Then they played the Valencia All-Stars on Sunday, and then on Tuesday they'll play in Barcelona. And I thought the Madrid All-Stars were a decent test in certain ways. Valencia, not as much. But what is very clear, and you can just tell by the buzz online and what they're seeing, because what they're seeing is true. This is a compelling roster. This is a roster that all of a sudden, like Xavier Booker, looks like he's taken that step. Like he'll be a factor. You can see how he and Jackson Kohler are probably the best 4-5 combo that they have. And that was the dream I think they thought a year ago, and it, Booker wasn't as ready as they hoped, and Kohler then got hurt. But you can start to see it. Jeremy Fears. And again, not to play on words, but calming fears. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that guy is pushing the ball and distributing and pushing the ball. And like, the ideal point guard, the point guard they never got Hogarth to be, and I don't know if he was a natural at it, is to just go. Made baskets, missed baskets, go. Get down the court, put pressure on the defense. Fears looks like a natural at that. Like, he looks like a guy who will be absolutely fine. Like, this is going to be his team. Frankie Fiddler, the shots he creates and hits. So there are lots of things that are very clear and intriguing at this point. Cohen Carr clearly, is at its best at power forward, and that may not be good for an NBA career for him. But you figure that part out later. What's important now is where he can impact the game, and I think it's at the 4. And so how does that, what does that mean for this season? If he's your backup 4, and maybe there's some 3 there, but he did hit a jump shot the other day, but most of his stuff were dunks. Jay Nakins has not looked like a player who can take over a game, and he never did before. I don't know if he was ever going to jump into that role. We always thought he'd be different than Tyson Walker, but he is a guy that, we'll see when the defense ramps up, when it's real college basketball, who they go to late, how they go to him. I think he is somebody where he's got to let things come to him a little more than just forcing it, and sometimes I think he wants to force it. This trip and these games, I'm not going to condemn anyone, so to speak. Condemn is the wrong word. I suck at this. But I don't think there's going to be any final sort of judgment on anybody. This is a summer of a still development period before 2 months of practice, before a season. But I think you can look at things where you go, that's intriguing, that's promising. But you also have to be aware of, like, Valencia, the team they just played, even though there's some grown men on that team, is probably a average mid-major at best. And that's who they just – now they've got some bigs who are a little more savvy and other things, but that's who they just beat up on. Like, keep that in mind.
Yeah, but that's a good thing.
But they
beat
did
up on those teams.
They did beat up on them, no doubt. No, I'm very intrigued to see this last game in Barcelona, how good the competition has been. It's been cool that they've been putting these games on Instagram Live. I hope they're able to do that with the Barcelona game as well. What is your third hot take?
Well, Graham, we're getting into the fall wedding season where, they want to ruin your college football or football Sunday experiences. So they were talking about it on the show Get Up, and Booger McFarland is one of my favorite people.
That wedding conversation came up. October 12th is setting up to be the best college football Saturday of the season. It's also, according to The Knot, the 5th busiest wedding day of the year. Hey, Booger, if you got invited to a wedding on October 12th, what are you doing?
I'm not even going, Greeny. I'm not even going if it was my own. I'm just going to be honest with you.
He wouldn't even go to his own wedding. Or October 12th.
Well, you could always decide what day your own wedding was going to be on.
See, now, and I always say, like, I know that there's a big schedule. It's a great slate of games on October 12th. But if there's just one game, like, I am still willing to go. But what I want to ask from the wedding party is, don't get mad when we dart for a TV as soon as the whole, when you go walk down the aisle, let's say I do, the kiss, yay, then we get to a TV. Like, don't be mad at that. That's pretty much the only thing. I'll still go to your wedding. But don't be mad if I'm, and there should be a TV.
In this day and age with phones, you're able to do a lot. But if you don't have Wi-Fi and you don't have a TV, look.
Just have a TV so people aren't miserable. We'll still enjoy your wedding.
My wife always dreamed of a fall wedding. And we settled for like August 27th. Because that was the last week before the football season started. And that was as close as we could get. There was a bye week. That was the year Michigan State, this is 2016, Michigan State had an early bye, like September 8th, which was perfect because that allowed us to do like a honeymoon after a week of, but for me, I worked the game. So I've missed a lot of weddings I've wanted to go to. There was one in Marquette a couple years ago, a really close friend of Elizabeth's. It's a friend of mine, unable to go.
You want to go, though.
I do.
Like, I view it as just like it's torture, but like I'll go.
I love a wedding.
Show my. I know.
I will go to. Yeah. In fact, if you don't want to go to a wedding and you need a stand-in, call me.
Yeah.
Because Elizabeth and I are depressed, that we've sort of aged out. We need a few more divorces. Because for a while, when I had sort of aged out, but then Elizabeth's 8 years younger than me, so like all her friends were going through it for a while. And we got this whole another cycle, and I've got these cousins. Then they were all getting married. Like, it was great. We were getting 2 or 3 a year. It was fantastic. And now it's not happening.
Like, all weddings should be in July.
A little hot.
It's the month that's dead, sports wise.
Yeah, I don't find it offensive. I just think if people can't go,
I think you could make some good money doing that though. Be a stand-in. Like, dudes would pay like $300, I think.
But I don't think that doesn't do you any good. The people you are still going to know it's not them. Why is this weirdo here? Why do you bring all this 6-year-old soccer team in? Just kidding.
This guy loves weddings.
I'm not offended by fall weddings. I understand the appeal of them.
Ugh.
And but I also look, if it's understand this, if like Michigan State's playing Michigan, if you're in the wedding party, I think you're stuck. But if you're not in the wedding party, and somebody looks forward to a game all year, and you've chosen that date, Michigan State, Michigan, or whatever it might be, a game, Michigan State, Ohio State, just a game. So don't be offended when they don't come.
Right.
That's fine. And I think that's okay too.
Or don't be offended when they have a TV in the parking lot and they're at their car watching
and they're tailgating.
Right.
Yep. I mean, totally understand that it doesn't get to be just, if you want it to be just your day, don't do it. But yeah, I mean, I get that. Like, they talk about October 12th. That's Michigan State's bye week this year. I'll be in Marquette for the basketball game the next day. On Saturday, I'm not going to make Elizabeth watch 12 hours of college football. I'll catch a game here and there or something, but we're gonna do Marquette things. We're gonna bike ride and frolic and the things we do: eat muffins and drink coffee and kayak. And it'll be maybe Lake Superior in October. It might not be the best kayaking option, but all right. My third hot take. I wrote a column that ran in Sunday's LSJ on some of the major changes and decisions coming in college athletics, and that has to do with the settlement of 3 antitrust cases and the revenue sharing with athletes. It's going to be basically about $22 million at Michigan State, perhaps in the coming years. Now, this stuff has not been completely approved. It's been agreed upon, but not we'll see what it actually is. But they're preparing for it, and that includes some changes to scholarship numbers. And we talked about this. And I talked about how this was the biggest story in college athletics, and people weren't really paying attention to it. And it's been interesting because it's been a really well-read column, probably my most well-read column since some point last winter. And because I don't think people were really aware of what was going on. But there was one passage from it that I think is important as we move this discussion forward about what to do in college athletics and how to make things fair and how to make things right and what college athletes need to understand and what fans need to understand. Because I do think that some form of direct revenue sharing is absolutely the right thing to do, given the amount of money being generated, right? And largely by football, obviously. And that the old system, while ideal for you and me and for fans and coaches and for some athletes in certain sports that were probably worth more, and the way the NCAA treated every little thing they called a crime, it was oppressive in nature. But here's the thing. This is the line I wrote that I think is important, is sort of a crux to every conversation. What should also be recognized at some point is that the old way, pre-NIL, pre-transfer portal, the way that we all fell in love with it, is what built the popularity of college sports. It is what led to the obsession that created the current financial market. So you have to understand that. A lot of people, I'm not sure if the system we're about to go into and the system we're even in right now is something people would have fallen in love with initially the same way. And there wouldn't have been as much money initially the same way, by the way, if this came out of thin air initially. But I think athletes and lawyers, God bless them, everybody needs to understand that the old way, while it wasn't perfect, did build the popularity. We are here in this moment of popularity because of what college sports were for a long, long time. And so it doesn't mean that you have to stay with that old way. You shouldn't. We can't. But it does mean you need to recognize that. So when you're messing with things, when you're tweaking things, when you love the financial market that's out there, how much interest there is, just understand that's where it came from. So what sort of things were important to the old way, to important to building that popularity. It was the connection fans had with athletes. It was they chose your school. It was it didn't feel transactional and brief. It felt like this commitment that, there were kids who transferred, there were kids who didn't work out, and there are kids now that are there for a brief time, like Kenneth Walker, that people feel connection to forever. There are exceptions. But it was that sort of thing. As you're making decisions about what matters in terms of contracts and whether athletes are employees and how long they should be expected to be somewhere and what matters to fans, just think about the things that were important to creating the obsession and the market that exists today from the old system, and how do you try to keep some of the important tenets of that? That would be the thing in the room that I would want to bring up. Okay, just as we talk about everything else, think about that. And make sure we're not heading down a path where it kills the sport because it turns so many people off. I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast a little bit this morning, and he had a guest on there who – hold on, I should pull up this guest's name. Give me some Hoff because I don't want to get this wrong.
I ride through the city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky.
Yeah, he had Chuck Klosterman on. And one of the things he was talking about is the being somewhere between 20 and 40 years away from a lot of major sports crashing because there will be advertisers rethinking what advertising actually gets them and how much it's worth spending, and how at that point things will be so expensive and leagues will be so reliant on salaries that all of a sudden advertisers are like, wait a second, we're not getting enough out of this to paying this. That there will be a point, especially with something like the NBA, where there aren't as many individual game views as there, and the salaries are bigger than anything, that's a real danger. And so you have to start thinking down the road if you're college athletics and the system you're trying to put in place and trying to make it sustainable and not damaging the game. And that's all I'm saying. I think I would start with understanding that it can't remain the same, but also as you're working out the details here, and over the next year you're making decisions that are going to be lasting and changing and turn people off and change a lot of things, and some of it will just have to be what is. But understand that the old way built the obsession and built the market that people are able to enjoy today.
Is it possible, though, to start at the coaches' salaries, maybe the guaranteed? Because Ross Dellinger had a tweet about FBS programs last year spent $132 million to fire head coaches.
100%.
And that's just money that's gone. Those guys get it, and they're not even working for you anymore. And that's $132 million that could go to players, right?
You can restructure contracts, because you know what fans aren't going to care about? Coaching buyouts. That's not going to ruin. If coaches make a little less, if that market changes, yes, there are things that can be done within that that would help the finances of it. I do think the in terms of the sort of transactional nature of this, and how much things are in transition is what I meant to say with the transfer market and everything. You are going to get to a point, and I know Alan Haller doesn't think this is what's going to happen, but I do think you are going to get to a point where athletes are employees.
And by the way, with the tickets now as well, it's getting crazy.
Got to be careful.
Now, you said 40
people.
years, but man, dude, like to go to a Lions game, you got to think of what goes into that now. So.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. A lot of people can't afford it.
In 10 years, what are tickets going to cost?
Got to be careful. A lot of people can't afford a lot of this. They can't afford life. And in football,
concerts are expensive too.
Well, in football is the perfect TV sport, so you have to be careful there too. Yep. There's no better sport for television than football. It's driven the popularity of football, but it also makes it hard to and that's why their media rights deals are what they are. But it's also hard to get people in house. You got to be more cognizant of that and that experience. Anyway, just something to think about. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we will dig into your hot takes. Some great stuff coming ahead. Couch in the Roo, presented by our friends at Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. Mention Couch the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a Pro Grow 8th with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeeper's online casino and sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis. Join their Pure Perks loyalty program at pureoptions.com. Not only can you check out the nearest location to you, but you can have your Pure Options experience tailored to you by the things you like and latest deals and offerings. Again, pureoptions.com. And a reminder, Groovy Donuts MSU move-in special going on this Thursday through Sunday, in store only for the MSU student in your life, or you if you're an MSU student. If this is Gavin listening right now, this applies to you.
He's still in high school, right?
No, Gavin can't be in high school. We've been doing this show since. Gavin might be like, I feel like Gavin at this point, he says he's only 18, but if he was 18, he's been listening since he was 12. But free classic donut or add a coffee for $1 with any purchase. You must show student ID Thursday through Sunday. Again, they're open 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. In store only, and that's Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing and in Williamston. Let's dig into these listener hot takes.
All right, man. So, Spartan 18770 up first. Number 1, had Darquez Denard been redshirted his freshman year, MSU would have won the 2014 national championship instead of Ohio State. 2, the last thing Izzo wanted Sunday was for his team to look so dominant. Now he will spend the next 3 months trying to convince the fan base otherwise.
I like 1 here a lot. Darquez Denard, if you put him on a 14 team, like he and Trey Waynes were together on that 2013 Rose Bowl team, which is, I think, the best defense they had. But you put him on 14, and that great J.T. Barrett game in November when Ohio State beat Michigan State, and I mean, unbelievable game. That was a great Michigan State team. That maybe it goes a little different. Maybe Darquez Denard is the difference there. Certainly, something to, he was probably too good to redshirt, but it would have made a difference. And I don't think that you could think down the road as you were trying to build the program that way. But if they had to do it over again and that was the option, maybe they would have.
Aledo up next. Michigan State basketball is going to be a much better team than last year. Jace Richardson is Aaron Henry. Kohler will be a double-digit scorer. Bonus, MSU football wins by 14+ at Maryland on September 7th.
Can you imagine the Pure Options parking lot watching that game on the big screen if MSU wins by 14? I don't think that happens. But to the first part, I think they will be a less infuriating team. I think they'll give you more joy. I think they'll be a better shooting team. I think there are lots of areas where they will be better than last year. I think they'll have better point guard play. The more I watch Fears and sort of his consistency and determination and the player I think Fears will play the season with a chip on his shoulder and trying to prove something. He lost a lot last year, and I'm not saying getting shot in the leg and having metal in your leg helps your long-term career and helps you as a basketball player. I do think it will enhance his drive and focus, which I already think was pretty good as a basketball player. But I do think there's something to that. There's something to losing that much time, to wondering if you were going to be the same guy, and having a chance to prove it and wanting to prove it. I do think Jace Richardson is a rotation player. I think that is something that you watch and you go, that guy's going to help. Now, when you start thinking about crunch time and you think about a guy like, not just crunch time, but key games in the rotation, and Trey Holloman's going to be part of that rotation, and obviously Fears is going to be part of that rotation, and you start to wonder, like, who's getting those other minutes. Kurt Tang is somebody they like a lot. Like, I do wonder how many minutes are going to be there for some of these guys, but I think Jace Richardson has a chance to be part of it.
Jarrett, the Lions take second in the NFC North, but make the Super Bowl. Bonus, Cohen Carr's dunks have me disappointed so far. I need to see a three-pointer to be excited.
See, this is what I was talking about.
Show him a three-pointer.
Well,
did he hit one?
I understand this though. He's shown you. Everybody knows he can do great dunks, and it's this is how Detroit fans and other people must have felt about Doug Anderson at one point. Like, you're so great at this thing, but what they really need is something else. So it becomes just less exciting.
So he should like shoot nothing but threes over there.
No, and I think he is going to be an okay shooter. The real question for me is whether he ever becomes a guy who can really take people off the dribble, because that will determine whether he can be a wing really at the college level or a four-man. I think the way he's playing right now is an energy four-man, and is something that will be really helpful to next year's team. He did bank in a jump shot yesterday. I mean, I think he's a guy who will be able to knock down open threes. And you would take 100% second in the NFC North and make the Super Bowl, by the way, right?
Well, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Am I going to argue against that? It was fun hearing Bears fans this morning say, if we beat the Lions just one time this year, that'll make our season.
What a world.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, wait, what? Oh, yeah, we're good. It's awesome.
By the way, a little bit of breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is big.
Okay.
Pete Thamel. Sources, Sam Leavitt has been named the starting quarterback for Arizona State. The opener against Wyoming beat out transfer Jeff Sims from Georgia Tech and Nebraska.
Wow.
Sam Leavitt, man. I'm telling you, I'm still all on the Sam Leavitt train.
Travis Maynard next. Watching the MSU games in Spain has been a treat. Cohen Carr is a game changer. Going to be hard to keep off the floor. He just might be the most NBA-ready guy on the roster. Dude's all over the court. Figure out the right lineup to leverage what he adds, and this team is freaking dangerous. And bonus, watching Caitlin Clark this week after watching Curry's Olympics heroics dominate the headlines illustrates the missed opportunity. Imagine telling your version of Curry to stay home. Clark hitting moonshot threes on that stage, and what that could have done for the women's game. Dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mistake to leave her home. You're trying to grow the game the way the 92 team. I mean, obviously, the women have been sending their best players for a long time, but you talk about what that would have done for eyeballs and worldwide, and yeah, it was dumb. It was just dumb.
It's dumb, but doesn't it's kind of like it gives some sort of like narrative, like she was left off this team, right? She's gonna make like how many more Olympics in her career, but
maybe.
I mean, they won the gold without her.
Yeah. No. The women's game though doesn't have the parity throughout the sport in the world the men's game does.
But they're trying to build the league,
and that's where I'm saying that's where Caitlin Clark would have helped. You want little girls in Spain going, I want to be Caitlin Clark. That's what I'm saying. You want that sort of that sort of dynamic. To the first point on Cohen Carr, which is totally the opposite of Jarrett's point. I do think I think he's a different player, that he understands how to contribute. Now, when he is in Europe playing against the European model, then we know what the European model is. It's very it's white, and it's not just white, but that's the wrong word. But it's
what?
It's not. They look like we'll fix that in post. I didn't mean that, but he is not playing like I want to see what Cohen Carr does when he faces a comparable athlete, not a comparable dunker. And I didn't mean white's the wrong word too, because I do think that.
So you're saying he's just playing white guys right now?
Yeah, but if you played a more athletic, he has not played somebody who athletically gets into him. Now he's played taller guys, bigger guys, but like even a Frankie Fiddler with length and size on the wing was a good athlete. Like that player even would be. So we'll fix the racial thing in post, obviously. But so I do want to see that. But I do think he has I talked to him this summer about it. He had a great understanding in what he did. A lot of these guys don't know what they don't know as freshmen. And then all of a sudden who they are just isn't enough. And they have to figure out how to grow their game, but also take their strengths and make them work at the college game. And I think Cohen Carr, that part of it, I don't know how much he's grown in certain areas more than he had a year ago. But in the areas that are his strengths, I think he will be much better and he will be a big contributor.
Suburban Spartan Dad next. MSU Hoops will average 80-plus a game this upcoming season, but they will be bottom half of the league in defense.
That would kill Izzo. I don't know if he could take it if this was like a really good offensive team that couldn't defend.
And we said, would somebody please guard somebody?
I don't think that happens because I think Fears will be a good defender. And I think Booker will be a good help, like weak side defender. There are things I'm not sure about Booker defensively, but I think in terms of help rim protection, I think he'll be all right. I think Fiddler will be okay. I think there'll be a good backcourt. I think Akins obviously is potentially a really good defender. And that's one of the things that they need to continue to sell him on. Like Akins has been thinking for a long time about what he can be as a pro. And that's all. It's been part of his concern. And understandably, everybody wants to be a pro. One of the things they need to continue to sell Akins on is, and there are some reasons to think he, in terms of the top level of professional basketball, won't make it. But one way that helps him have a chance is if he is just a dogged defender at 6'3", 6'4", who gets into people, gets into guards, causes problems, is consistent on that end, and then he can knock down enough threes. But if he isn't that, if he isn't a great defender, then he's got no shot. So I think if they can, and Holloman's a good defender, I don't think defensively they'll be bad, partly because I just don't think Izzo can stand it, stomach it, and that's just, you are what you emphasize, and they will emphasize that if need be.
ULA MOG next. Media members should not be pushing agendas after one exhibition game. Posting scores of different Real Madrid teams getting blown out by Notre Dame and Austin Peay, while MSU struggled against a much better opponent, is nasty work. Graham, you need to hold your people accountable.
I don't know who this is. I was trying not to live on. I don't know who this is, but yes, I mean, everything needs to have perspective. One of the reasons I didn't write 3 quick takes off all 3 games is it's very hard to get a sense on an Instagram broadcast exactly how good an opponent is and exactly what MSU is facing. And we deal with this with Moneyball sometimes, right? Guys put up big numbers and you don't know what's real and what's not. Some of these foreign trips, especially in an Olympic year when you don't, some of the players aren't available that would be, you don't know what's what. I do think, that the first team they faced in Madrid had some guys that caused them some issues, and that was a decent test.
Non-white guys?
They were still white. They were foreigners.
Oh.
But, yeah. Anyway, so we'll see what, I think you do get a decent sample size of some things after 3 games.
C-Dubs 91, hot and bake take. Tigers get one of the wild card spots. They have the easiest remaining schedule in Major League Baseball and have 7 games against the White Sox. Bonus, my phone should be in battery saver mode, not just when I get to 20%.
All right. Well,
but it slows your phone down. You don't want it. Right?
Yeah, and it always turns black on you when it's like you're trying to watch something and if it's on saver mode, I don't like saver mode. I wish it would never go on saver mode. I'd rather my phone die than go on saver mode. If that's happening, it's time to buy a new phone. So let's look at the wild card standings right now, though. They are
7.5, 8.5.
8.5 back. The problem is there are. The Royals are a really good team, and the wild card standings, the Royals right now are the bottom of it. There are a lot of years where being just a little above 500. Like there are years where the Mariners at 64 and 61 would probably be the cutoff line, and they would be in the wild card right now, and that would be like, whoa, they got a real shot, because then the Tigers are just 3 games back of them. Or even at the Red Sox, 65 and 58, Tigers are 5 games back of them. But not only do they have to pass the Rays, and they play the Rays in a series again, so there's still a chance. They play the Red Sox in a series. Like if they have real good series in those, you can start to jump teams. But at 61 and 64, they're 8.5 back of the Royals, who are 69 and 55. So you've got to catch, you probably have to, say the Royals and have a bad finish, what's the worst the Royals are going to do down the stretch? Maybe 15 and 25-ish? I mean, the worst the Royals are going to do is win 84 games.
I'm really not worried about the wild card, though.
Me neither.
I just want to play good baseball like they did last night, finish the season strong, get Javi Baez the fuck out, and let's go. Next year will be great.
Totally a baked take. You're right, and so that's what we asked for here. But so the Tigers would probably have to go, I said 19 and 18 to cover the over 79.5. They would probably have to, at minimum, go 25 and 13 and hope there was some collapses above them to even to have any sort of shot to make it.
Ethan Charmella next. Number 1, K-Ron Lynch Adams leads the Spartans in rushing yards, 870 yards compared to Nathan Carter's 825. 2, Jonathan Smith leads the team out of the tunnel next week to Stairway to Heaven.
People would enjoy that, Stairway to Heaven, I think, is it
Really?
out of the tunnel? No?
I don't know. It's kind of a slow build.
Yeah, that's true.
Guess you jump to the good part.
I still think if you want to...
Thunderstruck again?
you go with the...
No AC/DC?
Go with the Pistons' old entrance theme song, you know.
Yeah.
No?
Does that feel right for football?
It would for me. Like if
but it's like the NBC theme. It was like different when Fox aired it, right? Like I feel so many memories from the
Pistons,
Palace and
okay.
the Silver Dome from the Pistons when I'd hear that song. But maybe no one would care. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to appeal to a certain audience that now has a little bit of money and is your donor level, that's your age group.
Billy Joel it is. Dino Spumani next. Hit these college football overs. Indiana over 5.5.
By the way, if Mel Tucker was the coach, he'd come out to The Accused is an Innocent Man by Billy Joel. Yeah, right.
That was worth interrupting.
Sorry.
That was worth it.
Yeah, thank you.
Indiana over 5.5. Rutgers over 6. Minnesota over 5.5. Iowa over 8. And bonus, MSU finishes tied for last in the Big Ten with UCLA, Northwestern, and Purdue.
Could happen. I don't know.
I've heard it.
Yeah, could happen.
Which one of those out of there, besides we talked about Iowa, but
yeah, we love
Minnesota,
Iowa.
Rutgers, Indiana, any of those jump out? I mean, we talked Rutgers. Do we trust?
Indiana's had a couple bad injuries, but I do like their coach. You know, and you have to look at schedules. And Rutgers, a lot of people are on, but if you get 6, the thing about 6, and yeah, you're sort of wavering in the sense that I think there's a real good chance Rutgers is at 6, and you're not going to. I don't know. I don't trust Minnesota. I didn't like any of those when I looked through them. And I thought you could get Indiana lower than that. I thought Indiana was 5 or 4.5. I don't know that I would mess with anything other than Iowa there.
Chris Eastlick next. MSU completed their new facility just in time. It certainly doesn't seem like we'll see many of those facilities again with the money funneling towards NIL. And bonus, the end of last week's Hot Take show was one of the most hilarious moments of the show's history. It really was. It was the first time I laughed on the way home.
Wow.
You killing a gay guy. I mean, it was unbelievable. Just at the end.
Okay, well.
And then he fell down the stairs.
We need to.
You can rehash it.
I
would love to hear it.
I didn't kill him. Nice
right.
person.
Sorry, I misspoke.
Yes. And I believe the
it
line
led
was,
to what happened.
And then he died, is what I said. Or something along those lines.
He hit on you, and then you just ended the story with, then he died 2 weeks later. I was like, what?
Right. And in hindsight, I do see
did they find the killer?
No,
is the killer still out there?
I think it was an accident. I think he fell. He just fell.
You did work at this mob place. Where was it? A hardware store?
It was an electronics store.
Electronics store?
In Chicago.
How was your weekend, Graham? Wow, this gay guy hit on me. Oh, what? What'd you say?
No, that's
the story. Is the truth coming out now?
Not the. But no, the mob place was a place on Broadway in Chicago. It was,
You're gonna kill him?
It was an electronics store where we didn't sell anything, so there was no way that was their main line of income. And part of my job was scraping off the refurbished stickers off of televisions and air conditioners, and I mean it was such a wild experience. And some of the places I delivered to were interesting. The phone calls we would get, and one of the guys of the two brothers who owned it was like a caricature of a mobster. They paid me under the table. It was $7 an hour in 2002. The irony was I only had to take this job. This is part of the reason that I hate, Bill Walsh and Marty Morningwig and everybody associated with the West Coast offense that came to the Lions. It was 2001, fall of 2001. That's the year that Morningwig and Matt Millen took over, and they went 2-14 with Ty Detmer as the quarterback. And I lost so much money betting the Lions that year that I had to take a second or third job working at this electronics store, getting paid under the table in cash. So,
how did you learn about his death?
The guy who died?
Yeah.
I think somebody sent it to me. Or
How did you learn about his death? The guy that died?
Mutual friends, and I saw it on Facebook or something like that.
So
yeah.
Did you go?
No. He was a nice guy. No, you got to understand. This was one time.
It just sounds like you moved on really quick. I would be
no.
like,
I'd seen him in shows in Kalamazoo. I'd hung out with him with a mutual friend several times. Terrific person.
So, okay, you must have gave him that vibe.
Terrific person. I want
It's not worth pushing a guy down the stairs.
He didn't do that, and I was a handsome guy. At one
was it
point.
Investigated?
I don't know.
I mean, someone just falls from two floors up.
I could look it up, but I really don't want to.
If you just all of a sudden flew off 2 flights of stairs, I mean, people would probably.
All right, give me some Hoff. 1 second.
Oh, you're gonna look him up?
No. I'm not going to give.
What year?
I'm not going to do that.
Well, he's dead. What does it matter?
Yeah, I found it pretty quick. Oh boy. Yeah, really well. Oh man, this is sad.
How old?
A serious fall. 31. The.
How old were you?
Well, no, he. I mean, so it wasn't 2 weeks.
I got it wrong. Comes out.
It was like 3 years.
I should have been a detective.
Yeah, so I was wrong on yeah, it was not anyway. Yeah.
Is that it?
It just says a serious fall, but I think I heard the
I mean, I'm not laughing at the fall part. I'm laughing at you just befuddled.
Yeah, no, I don't even feel good about this conversation anymore. I'm like reading this.
You felt good about it last week.
I didn't.
What was great about it last week? It was weird. It just ended. I mean, you have to leave an open-ended thing there. It's like
story worth telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company. You're welcome, Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Great place for a date night, and if you have somebody in your life as engaging as this fella who's no longer with us, hang out with them at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Did I do that well?
Please do mine when I die.
But by the way, props to Chris Eastlick, because I reached out to him last Thursday. I was concerned about the weather. Softball season was over. We're having a softball team gathering at our house, backyard type deal. The weather was spitting a little bit. Mother Nature couldn't decide what she wanted to do. So proof that Chris Eastlick actually controls the weather. We had a little bit of spit. We had to move around a little bit. He basically held Mother Nature off for several extra hours, and that's the power of Chris Eastlick, and I appreciate him forever.
Varsity softball dad, Aston Villa won at West Ham for the first time in nearly 15 years because I bet against them. No other explanation. I feel that. It's like when I live bet a golfer and they just bogey the next 2 holes. I'm like, Jesus.
Aston Villa early on. I could have told you on that live bet, though, to probably go the other way.
I was just about to tweet that out.
No, on that, I didn't love it enough, but I'm just saying on that, you could tell early in that game that they were the better side. That was the only thing I would
tweet it out, man. This is Jordan Mack up next. Service industries should have a questionnaire asking if you want to engage in conversation. I'd tip extra to not have to interact with my Uber driver, waitress, masseuse, hairstylist, etc. He loves talking to people. There is nothing worse than forced conversation when you're trying to relax. The chef coming out to field questions after dinner is served is an arrogant move. And Bake Take, Graham should do a feature story on Chad Latz. I mean, he is Michigan State's #1 fan. I don't know why you guys. I don't know Johnny Spirit's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I like Chad. I just don't. There might wind up.
Do you?
It gets a little dark.
You like Chad?
Not when he does that. Jesus, that's
dark. Listen to you.
Yeah. So,
but by the way, we what he's talking about with the service industry thing, like we had a couples massage, T and I, and every massage I've ever had, there's no talking. Like it's just the music. I vibe out. I'm just like get into a trance and just love the massage. These 2 ladies, they were chatty, and of course, when they're chatty, T gets chatty, and then there's a whole conversation about the podcast and what's the name of the podcast. And I'm like, couch in the room. It's like fucking hell. So that's the only Uber driver. I don't mind jabbering with an Uber driver.
So our podcast ruined your massage over the weekend?
No, not at all. It's just T started explaining what goes on in our lives, and of course they ask a question because it's a thing. Like I didn't want to ignore. I can't ignore like people like that because Jordan. So we went first. We had the massage first. So I was telling him about it, and he's like, "Oh God, that can't happen." So then he tells his wife Sam, he's like, "Listen, keep the talking to a minimum." But she takes that way too seriously and doesn't say a word. So the lady is massaging her. He's like, we massaged your guys' friends yesterday, and she didn't say a word. Stoned her. And I was like, when she was telling the story, I was like, oh.
That's not good.
It makes my balls hurt because I can't be rude to people like that. If you're going to say something to me, I'm going to try to. But when I give you my response, I kind of give you a vibe like I don't want to talk anymore.
God, what a respectful wife to take that to the nth
I know,
degree.
Dude. I know. I was like, T,
this is important. This is important to my husband, and I'm gonna.
Dude, she was like, yeah,
wow,
it was unbelievable. It was impressive.
That's
incredible. And by the way, yes, the chefs did come out after the meal, and they repeatedly asked if we had any questions. Like, what did you like? What did you dislike or anything? And, of course, what are you going to say?
So I'll say this about Midtown Brewing Company, which another story we're telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company. I've had meals there, like rarely have I had the chef come out. Once in a while, if something was new and they were interested how you liked it. I've had meals so good there that I've wanted to ask who the chef was to let them know.
Sure.
Because it's that good.
Yeah.
And so that I would say that.
Well, this food wasn't that great.
Yeah.
Like it's too fancy for me, so I didn't have any questions. It was just I've never been a part of a dinner like that where the chef, you know what I mean? Like the chef comes out, says hello and stuff, but you're like, seriously, any questions? And then like the first round, no one's had any. So like the second round, you're gonna go, any question? Yeah. So anyway, great time. PZ next. Late Olympics take. USA needs to take 3-on-3 hoops more seriously. Send Steph, KD, and LeBron as the team in 2028. Either that or let LeBron take his sons. That should be enough by then. And bonus take. Happy for Parker Meadows. Seems to be putting it together.
That would be big for the Tigers if he can be a player. So one idea, and one thing I sort of like about the idea of the 3-on-3 league, and I know that there are they put a lot of restrictions from what I've heard on the league in terms of qualifying. So you can't just send NBA guys because they're in their season when you have to qualify. They do that intentionally. They don't want to understand the U.S. to dominate this. But what I would do if I were the NBA is I would either take – now because other guys are going to be – I would take like guys from your last team, like a Legends team that's still in shape. And not everybody stays in shape, and it wouldn't work for everybody. But this is not a bad idea. If you 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you no longer have – like Steph, LeBron, and KD could all be out of the league in 4 years. But they're still, can you imagine those guys not having to get up and down the court, but LeBron, Steph, and KD on a 3-on-3 hoops team? I would think that would work really well. Like that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Watch?
I would watch that.
Yeah.
And I would also pay attention to it. Yeah, it'd be fun to watch guys who are just out of the league.
But we don't have like G League guys that could go dominate that.
The problem is to qualify, you'd have to take them out of the G League during the season. That's why they do this.
What about McDonald's All-Americans?
They're trying to make it too. They're overseas. I mean, it doesn't. That's the problem. They do this, so that's why we get stuck with like some shooter who went to BYU 40 years ago. Fredette, yeah.
Rich Kane. I saw some positive things in MSU's game versus Madrid All-Stars. Number 1, fears seem to be moving very well. 2, the whole team played with plenty of energy and hustle. 3, Booker laid out one of those Euros with a macho screen. If he puts physical play together with his skill set, it could be a nice year for Izzo. 4, Fiddler confirmed he is a legit Big Ten level talent. Bonus, LeBron will play in the LA Olympics because of the off-court marketing possibilities with him being a Laker, but mainly to get his son a gold medal. He'll find a way to force USA basketball into putting Bronny on the team.
I don't think he'll have that kind of pull. I mean, they're not going to do that. That sort of farce wouldn't work. Unless, somehow in 4 years, Bronny James is at that level.
Yeah, if he's decent,
yeah,
I guess.
But he'd have to be better than decent, I think.
Right.
No, to your points on the MSU's game, I the way Fears pushes the ball, and just is a natural at it. Like some guys aren't. Some guys in traffic aren't. He has got that. There's a different player. They're not the same player, but there's a Kalen Lucas to the way he pushes the ball, right? Yeah, I mean, it's Booker is. I mean, I don't know. It's just a very different player. If Booker is this guy that I've seen the last couple games, and that translates into the college game throughout the course of the season, there's just no way he's playing more than 1 year at Michigan State. And Fiddler, absolutely. I mean, he fits. He's going to be. He's going to be a really important player for that Michigan State team. It's got a chance to be a nice lineup.
Scott, you next. MSU basketball will be fun and frustrating this season. Fears looks legit. Fears and Fiddler are end-of-game closers. Akins is the best defender and, unfortunately, will be a role player. Cohen Carr at the 4 and only the 4. Bonus. MSU basketball is living a soccer fan's dream in Spain. Jerseys at Atletico, the Graham and white keeper kit for Israel.
Green and white.
The Valencia and Barca match seats they were awesome.
Yeah, I mean I was envious of these guys. They bring them into the locker room at Atletico Madrid, and they've all got their own jerseys. They've got the keeper jersey that says Izzo. It's like a green and white, and then they got to go out in the field. And then in Valencia, they went to a Valencia-Barcelona match. With great. I mean, for a long time I didn't want to go on the trip. And the company would not have sent me. Let me be clear. And I don't think it would have been worth it for us. But I don't really want to go on the trip. I do not like to be I don't want to be doing travel diaries of somebody else's trip. That sounds like an awful thing to be writing. Like you're a fucking voyeur. Like that sucks. I don't want that. I would like to be at the games, and I would like to, if you told me these are the 3 games you need to be at, and you can write about them, we will pay for your flight if you do that. And then the rest of the time, you do your own trip. But you can also come to this soccer game. But I would have gone to many soccer games. But anyway, I would have done the trip.
They would have accommodated you.
I don't want to be taking the pictures of them in the. I'm sorry. I don't know what that. Yeah.
To Youper, I've been pronouncing it as Seisman Zappala since I first heard you all say it. You can't convince me to change it now.
I'm with you. Zimon.
S-Dog.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Sizzle. Mojo Jojo, cover your ears for this one, Jason. Graham, season 1 of Ted Lasso is the best sports show or movie of the last 10 years.
Wow.
Is that long? Since 2014? All right. Baked. Best way to explain the dislike of Michigan alums and fans is to tell them to imagine if Northwestern's Medill School of Journalism played MSU in sports every year.
Absolutely. That's the way. That's how I picture it. Same vibe, right? The worst of Michigan fans and the worst of journalism alums from Medill. The Ted Lasso, it's not that old yet, but it's worth. It's
what he said the last 10 years.
Of the last 10 years.
Like I'm trying to what
anything
sports
else.
Shit came out that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. I liked all of it, but season 1 is.
I don't
is
hate
the best.
hearing that you enjoyed it. I just don't want to watch it.
Have you watched any of it?
No.
I do wonder if you'd like season 1.
I don't. I won't.
Okay.
I promise you I won't.
Okay.
Jebediah, huge missed opportunity by the Rube to play Graham's Big Gay Sunday drop while Graham was telling his story in the last show. Shit, I don't think I have it anymore.
I got to find that.
Bonus, I was starting to assume Rico forgot Rube 4 years after the Spartan beat ended, but then I heard him open his show Friday calling his producer Jason.
Maybe his producer is actually. There could be another Jason.
Yeah, like why would he?
It would be funny if all of a sudden he was just having flashbacks to Nam, so to speak.
Yeah. Matt C. Number 1. Graham doesn't actually have a Connor Stallion story. He's just teasing it, so readers don't let their LSJ subscription expire. That's a good bit. 2. MSU basketball is going 40-0. Spain has nothing on MSU basketball.
This would be amazing if, I started doing this with every big story. I actually have this story. Our sourcing standards are just too good compared to ESPN and anybody else. I actually have this story. I just can't tell you.
Did you see Mick McCabe? What he wrote? Stallions is coaching at a high school now.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to hold him out, and what a bizarre story. And Mick McCabe was all pissed off in his column. I'm like, damn. I've met Mick McCabe. He seems like the nicest guy ever. You got to really must piss him off to.
I like Mick. I didn't read the full column yet. I should. I should at some point here. Yeah, no, we'll figure out. I still have hope that the Connor Stallion story that I have written, it will run in most of its form before his documentary drops or after.
Do people really have a problem with him coaching in high school though? I mean, is what he did a felony or against the law where you're not supposed to coach football anymore?
He obviously has a skill set that can help some people win. And,
right.
And so as long as he's not, I don't know.
You're just out of football forever.
Yeah, your life's over. I don't know. I don't know what the expectation is. Maybe there is a little bit more than 6 months. You spend a year out of it at least. But Detroit Mumford is not exactly the high level.
No.
Yeah.
They're not very good. Ghost of George Perlis. Number 1, knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. 2, wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. 3, if Couch prints his Connor Stallions column with or without accurate sourcing, he'll never buy a beer again in East Lansing.
I don't mind buying a beer in East Lansing. I like, but I would. But yes, I'm aware people have.
He doesn't drink enough beer to take advantage of that.
I don't know if I took the right approach to this whole thing, but I didn't really know what to do because part of the thing was, and I would happily tell my bosses this. Thank God they don't listen. But we do Twitter questions here, and my big thing is I'm just not going to lie to people, and people are going to. And I couldn't sit here going, I don't think it's a big enough story for me to even look into. It clearly had become a thing, and then it was clearly a thing to Alan Haller when I asked him about it. So it was like, all right, fuck it, let's do it, And the problem is these stories are not, one of the great things I do appreciate about the place I work is we are not willy-nilly with sourcing. And and that sucks. I mean, I'm still hopeful. And at some point, to some degree, it'll be able to come out. I just might not be able to be first, and that sucks. And maybe I'll get annoyed and just say it all here. And who knows? I don't know.
David Jackson, next. Not being able to watch MSU basketball games in Spain is literally a crime against humanity. Bonus take. If the smaller ball size was not a factor, Caitlin Clark would have been a better player for MSU than Foster Lawyer was. She has greater skill at everything. Baked. Are my skipped questions from last week, which was the breaking of a sacred trust built over multiple years, guaranteed to be answered on Twitter Questions Day this week? So sworn on the Premier League graves of Sheffield United, Burnley, and Luton Town.
I respect you, David. So what happened last week is I feel bad. David had missed we did an earlier Twitter question show, and he missed the tweet, and he missed the deadline, and then he texted me when he saw the show was about to start. And I said, well, if you get it in now, he didn't even ask if he could still get it in. I said, if you get it in now, we'll get it in the show.
He texted you?
Or he tweeted at me. And I told him we would get it in. And then we didn't do a single commercial. My plan was like, all right, we'll go to commercial break. I'll add those, and I'll send it to Jason. And we didn't do a single commercial break. And at the end, I was like, oh. And
I mean, out of all the people to miss their questions.
And David, I mean, and he
why David?
I also screwed over Groovy Donuts last Friday as well, which was a big. Caitlin Clark would have been a better player than Foster Lawyer was for the men's team.
Yeah, yes, for the men's team. Did Foster Lawyer play on the women's team?
I don't. I'm not going to put anything past her. I think those are different levels.
I don't want to lie to you. Jay Riemenschneider, I don't get MSU fans still being so obsessed with the Michigan cheating thing. Worrying and complaining ain't going to change anything. My only focus would be the excitement I have for a new year and a fresh start with a new regime. And bonus, I commend you standing up for logic in the Michigan saga, all the while taking shots about it left and right on your show. Extra bonus, you never answered the second part of Eric's question. How many times in his tenure will Jonathan Smith beat Michigan?
Oh,
don't lie.
Yeah. Maybe Eric didn't put any questions or any hot takes in today. He's like, screw it. Screw it. This guy. Well, for good reason. So say he coaches 7 years. Does he do let's say he coaches his contract 7 years. I say he beats Michigan. God, I had no idea where Michigan's program's headed. I mean, they're in a really good place right now.
Why?
Okay, so if over the next 7 years, if Jonathan Smith coaches all of them and the over-under was 2.5, would you take the over-under for how many times they beat Michigan?
I wasn't asked the question. They were asking
I'm asking you the question.
I would take it. I would take the over.
You take the over?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
Why not?
I'd probably.
I'm a dumb gambler.
Lean over a little bit. Yeah. No, look for MSU.
You heard it. 3.
To your first part though, about the first one about MSU fans being obsessed with Michigan cheating and worrying about and complaining isn't going to change anything. The focus should be the excitement of a new year and a fresh start. I think the excitement is that you have to understand though, in the soul of Michigan State fans is this disdain for Michigan and what Michigan did in the last year and the way a lot of people in their lives reacted to it just put the knife in the soul even more. Like it is there's no way just to ignore that for an MSU fan who feels a certain way about Michigan. So I think they can do both at one time. That's just what it is. There's no way around it.
Kevin from Rochester Hills, number 1, Jake Bates will be released by week 5, and baked Hendon Hooker is a lock for the Hall of Fame.
I am more intrigued about him as the backup, and I think he will be the backup this year. But
no, you don't think he'll start over Goff?
I don't think finally he'll start
a hot
over
take.
Goff.
You should have used that as a hot take.
I wouldn't be bad. Like it would not be. It would not be
53-yard. What?
It would not be bad if Hooker was like 2-3 years from now when he's already 36 because he's an old guy. But it wouldn't be bad if he is a little bit younger than Goff, a couple years. It wouldn't be bad if. I mean, it's never bad if you're having that conversation in 2-3 years. Like if Hooker develops into a really good quarterback, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't want that. You'd love to be in that spot, and I still think the Lions should continue to draft quarterbacks late because you either develop and they become an asset or they become your future quarterback or whatever it might be.
Professor, cancel the NFL preseason games. Put the joint practices on TV.
I would actually rather watch that. Would you?
Would you watch it?
A joint practice? Yeah.
I mean,
those
I would
are
watch
the best guys.
I would watch the Lions, I'm sure, yeah. But other than that, I'm not watching any other. I mean, there was a preseason game on last night. I'm like, eh.
But you'd
watching the Titans.
Would you rather watch the Lions joint practice or the Lions preseason game?
Oh, yeah. Joint practice.
Yeah, so there you go.
All right. Alan Pearlstein, Ultimate Tire Wrestling is just waiting to be a thing.
I don't even know what this is. Hold on.
All right, hold on.
I am a passenger.
Riding right up into my rectum, and it was painful.
I look through my window so bright. I see the stars.
Is it porn?
I'm hoping not.
Please be porn.
So you're like trying to get. I don't really understand what's happening.
I don't know either. All right.
Oh, you're fighting in a tire? I don't really. You're like inside a giant tire, and you're like, it's close to porn. Yeah, I don't.
That's close to porn for you?
No, it's not porn, but it's a lot of. I mean, this right here.
I'd watch that over the slap fight thing. I don't understand the slap fight thing.
Are you trying to push somebody through? I'm curious on the rules. It is somewhat interesting. This guy looks like he's going down on the other guy here in this particular scene, but I'm going to exit.
Going down? What is happening? Spawn of stout sponsors next. My mid-90s sartorial spender from Holden Reed in Frandor Mall is fire, as the kids say. Okay, but it isn't as fire as Jason in a high-quality muskox flannel. Maybe it's 30 mgs from Pure Options. But my good friend Graham Couch looks like a lost bumblebee in his Yorkie kilt. Yorkie kit.
My Torquay United kit. Yeah, I do look like a lost. I just need to drop 30 pounds before I wear that out and about because I just look like this.
It's not flattering.
And the other problem is, yellow's not that flattering on me. And then under these lights, I was a little warm, so I look like I've got the meat sweats. It's just
stripes,
it's a bad deal.
Shep. Next, regarding Graham's comment about some Michigan fans acknowledging that the whole Harbaugh Stallions cheating thing was gross. My parents have 3 degrees between them from Michigan Ann Arbor and were decades-long season ticket holders and huge fans. They are disgusted by Harbaugh and grossed out by the whole Stallions thing. They wanted Harbaugh and Moore fired last year and didn't celebrate the tainted title. I think some actual Michigan alums do have integrity, and the losers beating their chest about the Black Sox title are more than Walmart Wolverine variety that couldn't find the Michigan library with a map and GPS. Bonus take. I love you, Rube, but Tom Cruise's ass. Yeah, like I'm not disagreeing. I mean, the way he lives his life, sure. Like that's ass.
But he was great.
Scientology thing. I was just saying.
A Few Good Men he's great.
Well, he's unbelievable in a bunch of movies.
Yeah,
I'm just saying Mission Impossible. When I see the trailer for it, you get my $20. If Tom Cruise is going to jump in Brazil off a fucking motorcycle, I'm going to watch.
No stunt guy.
No, he does them all.
Yeah.
There's video of him doing all the skydiving, and he's like leaning back and like just fucking around up in the air skydiving. It's crazy.
That is amazing. Yeah, I think Michigan fans overall are not exactly Twitter, and I think there are people who feel all sorts of ways about it to different degrees, and I know some of them, and some of them just gross is a good word, or they were turned off by it. I don't know any who aren't still celebrating the title, but you know.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard that.
It's interesting that your folks feel that way.
Yeah. Original Dark Mantonio. I think any fan base outside Bama, Georgia, and maybe Clemson would trade their 2023 outcome for Michigan's 2023 results and impending sanctions from sign stealing.
Yeah, I think overall, collectively right. And there might be some people, like Shep's parents, who don't feel that way. There will be people in every fan base. But if you took the overall majority, even like a Senate where you need 60 votes out of 100, I think you'd get 60% of every fan base to have Michigan results and sanctions outside of a couple. I think Michigan State would take it. I do. 60% I do think would take it.
Some dude, number 1, I miss Dominic. 2, got a $5 beer at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Looks like this is always a thing. 3, I'm pretty sure if you keep all of your best players out of the first 10 NFL games that you'll lose most of them.
Not defensive backs. This is my point, that they're just so interchangeable. I mean, you don't have them anyway for the postseason. You got to win Super Bowls. This is why I would draft tons of them in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round and just try to have a lot.
But there's some really bad ones.
There's
a drop-off, though. That's pretty wild.
I would just try to have great depth, but not a lot of difference and variety at that position. And Dominic is still around. I played tennis with Dominic a couple times.
Yeah.
This summer. Good tennis player, by the way. So Dominic,
I think he waits for
here.
Football, you know?
Dominic's coming back.
Neurotic Pants, number 1, now that things have settled down, it's time to bring Mel Tucker and Coach D back on staff as social media ambassadors. That's a big take. 2, I can relate to Jason more than ever now because I, too, have fathered many bastards. 3, if you ever made Proud to Be an American your opening music, new listeners would think that they have tuned in to a conservative podcast and might not listen. Best to stick with Hoff or Lat singing Danger Zone.
Yeah, we're not going to the song I hate more than any song in this world, the tunes.
But if we played Lat singing it, would people think?
I
think maybe they would, yeah.
For a minute?
Yeah, we wouldn't do that. Yeah. Sorry. Jake Hawkins, number 1. The Tigers giving up a home game to do a Little League Series game with the Yankees was at first skeptical in my view, but it looked like a pretty fun event for everyone involved. Plus, the Tigers making it interesting and winning in 10 innings after a slow start is a bonus. 2, when it comes to Hollywood actors playing sports figures in movies and shows, I know they won't look exactly like who they're playing in a role, but Nicolas Cage playing John Madden, what the fuck? I don't know who's desperate, the filmmakers or Cage himself. Is that real?
Yes.
He's going to play Madden.
Yeah, the picture actually looked all right. I didn't hate it.
3, on last week's Hot Take show, I did only submit one hot take because I could only think of just one. I do really appreciate you guys double-checking and putting on Hoff hold music on to make sure that you didn't miss any of that I could have submitted.
I was really concerned about you, Jake, because I was like, oh, my gosh.
It's never happened.
Yeah. It's Jake. I was like, oh, I've definitely screwed Jake over. So we appreciate
that was the
it.
one thing we were going to be like, we better check on Jake. Like, if he ever just writes in one hot take, we better check on him.
Well, it's just,
Twitter
welfare check. Yeah. Head over. Last night, look, the Tigers, it was fun. And it was fun to have them in a primetime situation. I'm glad they lined up to have Scooball in that game because that made it so they could put their best
foot forward. Are those little Rugrats going to be Tiger fans now that they're watching the game? They go home and get Tiger stuff.
I don't. Did you see the Cuban team was all like walking Ibanez into the stadium? It was kind of cool. I mean, there was some fun stuff.
Hans Jurgen, number 1, civilization would have come to an end if ABBA had never come into our collective cultural consciousness in the late 70s. 2, my goal is to not lose my entire life savings on week 0 again.
Yeah, week 0, jumping on the Premier League soccer. We'll get into that later this week. It's better play for
might have Harry on
this week. Yeah, that'd be. But the one thing about ABBA that the really big contribution is Mamma Mia the musical. I think is well done.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy finally here. Number 1, this MSU basketball team will win the Big 18 and make the Final Four. 2, Jonathan Smith is the coach that will get MSU back to the top tier of the Big 18. And 3, X88B88 looks like the word voodoo reflecting all off of itself.
I had to look this up, and I still don't really understand what the hell's going on. Nonetheless, we appreciate you, Upper Deck Jerk Guy. We appreciate all of you producing our show. As always, we couldn't do it without you. We just wouldn't. And it's so thank you. We appreciate our friends at Pure Options, precision crafted cannabis. Go to pureoptions.com for the location nearest you. And if you spend more than $50, let them know Couch in the Rube sent you. Let them know anyway. And you'll get a free 8th of ProGrow, terrific in-house brand. And remember, of course, the block party at the Frandor location on September 7th. We appreciate Groovy Donuts and the MSU Move-In Special. Let your friends know about it. You can share it with them on Twitter, on social media. Either location this Thursday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. They're open Thursday through Sunday. And, of course, Midtown Brewing Company, great place for any occasion. Drink after work, date night, you name it. We'll be back middle of the week. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.